Meet Dale Franson.
Yes, a nice-looking piece of equipment.
He hunts antelope in October, deer in November, and the rest of the year, he does a good job of holding down the prairie dog population. Ron Reiber, on the other hand, punches a lot of iron. He started silhouette shooting 3 years ago, and now he's taking home some trophies. Mike Jensen's sport is combat targets, and he'll tell you there's nothing like it to really get your adrenaline flowing. All of these men enjoy different types of shooting, but they all have one thing in common. They reload their own ammunition. For them, reloading has become both an interesting hobby and an affordable way to enjoy shooting the year round.
As good as you could buy in a brand new box.
Hi, I'm Steve Hornady, and I'd like to introduce you to metallic cartridge reloading. It's a great hobby, and it will save you a lot of money. In fact, most shooters start reloading because they can produce a box of rifle or pistol ammunition for about half the cost of factory loads.
But that's just part of the story. You don't have to reload for long to discover there's a lot of other advantages too. Being able to shoot more can just naturally help make you a better shot. Not only because you can afford to practice more, but because you'll be shooting ammunition that you've tailored to give you better performance than what you can buy.
In other words, reloading can help you turn groups like this into groups like this. And it can help you bag trophies like this. So, when you reload, you can shoot more, you can shoot better, and it will cost you less. Let's get started.
The first thing you'll need is a good, sturdy surface to work on. It doesn't have to be as elaborate as this reloading bench, just some place where you'll have plenty of room to work, and to store your equipment and supplies safely out of the way. You'll want to equip your bench with a good reloading press. For this demonstration, we've chosen Hornady's 007 single-stage press, but there are many other presses available in a wide range of prices. For your press, you'll need a set of dies to match the caliber you plan to load. You'll want a scale to check the weight of your powder charges, a measure to dispense powder accurately, a trimmer for bringing cases back to correct length. And you'll need a few accessories for cleaning and lubricating cases prior to loading. You'll also need a box of bullets, a can of powder, primers, and a supply of fired cases. Or, if you don't have fired cases, you can purchase new, unprimed cases from your shooting supply dealer. And something else very important, a good reloading manual. A book like this can give you all the details about the cartridge you plan to reload, plus vital information on the type and amount of powder to load with various bullets. Always pay close attention to this data and never exceed the maximum load indicated. Also, plan to spend more time studying the ballistics information in the back of your reloading handbook. It will show you what kind of performance you can expect from the cartridge you're loading, and that can save you a lot of experimentation.
And now just a word about safety. It's always a good idea to wear safety glasses or glasses with hardened lenses to protect your eyes while you're reloading. And here are some other important rules to follow.
Always keep your reloading bench neat and orderly, and make sure that everything, from components to completed reloads, is clearly labeled to prevent mix-ups. Make sure you store powder and primers safely away from heat and out of the reach of children. As this demonstration shows, smokeless powder is flammable, but not violently so. It's safer to use and store than such common items as gasoline, cleaning fluid, or paint thinner. But treat it with caution. And remember, never to smoke when reloading.
And finally, take your time and pay attention to detail. Spending a little extra time making sure you're using the recommended procedures and the right reloading data can pay off, not only in extra safety, but in better performance as well.
And to get better performance, it will help you if you have a clear idea of what goes on inside the chamber of your gun when a cartridge is fired. This animated sequence shows a new factory load chambered and ready to fire. Notice that it's somewhat of a loose fit in the chamber, but this is normal since factory ammunition must be made to chamber in a wide range of firearms. Note that the bullet is not in perfect alignment with the bore and that the case does not contact the front of the chamber. But all of this changes when the trigger is pulled. The case moves forward when it is struck by the firing pin. This creates what is known as head space between the face of the bolt and the head of the cartridge. As the firing pin continues and ignites the primer, notice that the violence of the flash backs the primer part of the way out of its pocket. As the powder is ignited, the pressure builds, causing the case to expand until it completely fills the chamber and prevents any escape of gas to the rear. Then, as the bullet exits up the barrel, the pressure drops and the case cools and contracts enough so that it can be easily extracted. And this, then, is what you'll be starting with. This case may have been fired just once, or it may have been fired several times. In any event, it needs to be carefully inspected before reloading.
The first step is to sort all cases by brand, even if the cases you have are all of the same caliber.
This is important since different manufacturers use different specifications for the same case. Next, carefully examine each case for defects. Don't reload any cases which have split necks, large dents, show signs of cracking or splitting in the head area, or which have enlarged primer pockets. You're now ready to remove the old primers and to resize the cases back to their original factory dimensions. To prepare for this operation, it's a good idea to brush out the neck of each case to remove powder residue and to wipe each case with a soft cloth to remove any surface grit. Now, with your cases cleaned, you're ready to start using your reloading press. To begin the deep priming and resizing operation, slip the shell holder head into the ram. Raise the ram to its maximum height, then screw in the sizing die. Adjust the die so that it just touches the shell holder head, and tighten the lock ring. Next, adjust the depriming spindle so that it extends far enough below the die to knock out the primer. Then lock the spindle. Now, take one of the cases you've just cleaned and lubricate it to keep it from sticking in the die. Next, slip the lube case into the shell holder head. Raise the ram so that the case goes completely into the die. As shown here in animation, this operation removes the spent primer and returns the case to its original factory dimensions. As part of this routine, make sure that you wipe any excess lubricant off each case before you place it in the loading block.
Once you've deprimed and resized all your cases, there are two more important steps that you should take.
First, clean the residue out of the primer pocket on each case so that you'll be ready to insert a new primer. Next, check the length of your case with a case gauge or calipers, or by using a new case or cartridge you've saved for reference. These cases are about 10 thousandths too long. This animated sequence shows how the resizing operation can lengthen the neck of the case to the point where it will be difficult to chamber in your gun. A bolt that's hard to close can be a warning sign that the case may be too long. Forcing the bolt closed can move the case forward and crimp it into the bullet. The result is excess pressure, which usually results in a painful recoil and can also be dangerous to you and the action of your gun. To prevent this problem, remember to check for correct case length. When you find cases that are too long, set up your case trimmer by inserting the proper shell holder and pilot. Then you can quickly trim them back to proper length. After trimming, the case mouth should be smoothed inside and out with a chamfering and deburring tool.
Now you have a clean, sized, and correctly prepared case ready to be primed.
Before you begin priming, check your reloading manual to be certain that you have the right primer. And also make sure your hands are clean and free from oil. Primers are small and difficult to handle, and touching them with oily hands can affect their performance and even cause misfire. One good way to avoid this is to use a primer turning plate, which makes it easier to orient primers all in one direction. Before priming, remove the size die, then place a primer in the primer cup. Next, raise the ram slightly, insert a case in the shell holder, and return to seat the primer. This can be done manually, as we have just shown, but for speed and convenience, we recommend an automatic primer feed.
When priming, always make sure you seat the primer flush with or slightly below the head of the case.
Now that we have a supply of prime cases, we're ready to add powder. Again, you'll want to check your handbook to select a recommended powder and powder charge. Remember, too, that as you begin reloading, it's always wise to use powder charges which are well below the maximum level shown. Using your scale to check for accuracy, adjust your powder measure until it dispenses the exact recommended powder charge. If you don't want to buy a powder measure, you can use your scale to weigh each charge. However, most reloaders prefer the speed and convenience of a powder measure. After charging your cases, make sure you inspect them for uniform powder level, and also that you use your scale to make regular spot checks to ensure you're getting an accurate weight. When charging cases, you'll get more uniformity if you use a smooth, even motion. Also, it's a good idea to give the rotor an extra tap or two at the end of each cycle to make sure that the charge is completely dispensed. When using a powder measure, make sure you use a systematic method to prevent double charging. Now we're ready to seat the bullet. The easiest way we've found to adjust a die for this operation is to put an empty case in the shell holder and raise the ram to the top of the stroke. Then screw the die down until it contacts the case mouth. Next, lower the ram, insert a bullet, and raise the ram into the die. Now screw the seating stem down in small increments. This will begin seating the bullet in the case. When you have reached the selected length, you may also want to apply a crimp to secure the bullet in the case. To do this, back out the seating stem and screw the die down until you feel it begin to crimp the case mouth into the bullet. Then, screw the seating stem back down until it contacts the top of the bullet. Tighten the die lock ring, and you're ready to complete the seating and crimping process. Just place the bullet in the mouth of a charged case and raise the ram into the seating die. As shown here in animation, you now have completed the reloading process with a new primer, a resized case, a new charge of powder, and finally, a properly seated bullet. In a fraction of the time it takes to tell about it, you produced a precision cartridge you can be proud of.
But there's one more step. You need to be sure your reloads function properly in the chamber of your gun. However, for safety's sake, make sure the round you chamber is a dummy, without powder or primer. Now, to see how well our reloads shoot, let's take a quick trip to the Hornady Ballistics Laboratory.
Our ballistics specialists shoot tens of thousands of rounds each year in testing Hornady bullets for consistent accuracy. So we'll let them see how our reloads perform at 100 yards.
This is the actual 5-shot group made with the reloads that we've just produced. It's pretty good. But as you become more familiar with your handbook, you'll find ways to shoot groups that are even smaller.
But let's not forget that reloading rifle cartridges is only half the story. Most of the steps we've just shown you apply equally well to pistol ammunition. Your fired cases should be carefully sorted by brand, inspected, and cleaned. But when you're ready to start reloading, you'll note that pistol cartridges require the use of 3 dies on your press, instead of just 2, as with rifle cartridges. 1 for depriming and resizing, 1 for belling or expanding the case mouth, and 1 for seating. The depriming and resizing operation is just the same as we showed you for rifle ammunition. The ram, with the proper shell holder inserted, is raised to its highest point, and the resized deprimed die is screwed in until it just touches the shell holder. Now you can proceed to deprime and resize your cases. But before you do, remember to lubricate your cases just as we showed you in the sequence on rifle cartridges. However, many pistol reloaders eliminate the lubrication step with the use of no-lube dies. After depriming, your pistol cases should be checked for correct length and trimmed when necessary. Again, this operation is just as we demonstrated for rifle cartridges. As you can see in this animation, there is nothing in the pistol depriming die to enlarge the case mouth so that it will hold the bullet. This is what the expander die is for, and here's how it works. Insert a case in the shell holder and raise the ram to its highest position. Next, screw in the expander die until you can feel it begin to expand and bell the case mouth. You should have just enough bell to allow the heel of the bullet to enter the case. Now tighten the lock ring and you're ready to expand and prime the case all in one operation. Check to make certain you have the right primer. Insert an empty case in the shell holder and raise the ram into the die. At this point, place a primer in the primer cup and lower the ram to seat the primer. Remember to check to make sure each primer is properly seated. Now you're ready to charge your cases with powder. You can use the same type of measure as for reloading rifle cartridges. Or you can use one of these handy powder measures made especially for pistol reloading. These measures are sold with interchangeable bushings that can be used to match a wide range of pistol loads. Select the bushing recommended for the load you're using, then use your scale to make certain it's dispensing the recommended charge. You can mount the measure on your bench, or you can hand hold it and quickly charge an entire block of prime cases. As always, be very systematic when charging powder. Always use a uniform motion to dispense each charge, and pay close attention so that you neither skip nor double charge any cases. To make certain, it's always a good idea to inspect your block of cases after you've charged the powder. Now you're ready to begin seating bullets. Start by putting a case in the shell holder and raising the ram to its highest point. Next, thread in your third die, the seating die, until it contacts the case. Back out the seating stem, insert a bullet, and raise the ram. By screwing the seating stem down, the bullet will be pushed into the case. Check your reloading manual for the correct dimensions. And then gradually screw the seating stem down until you're right on the money. Many pistol calibers require crimping the case to the bullet. This operation is identical to crimping rifle cartridges. Once the seating depth has been established, you unscrew the seating stem, screw in the die until it crimps the case. Then screw the seating stem back down until it touches the bullet. Now you're ready to finish seating and crimping in one operation.
Obviously, there are several steps to reloading rifle and pistol ammunition, and if you're really into shooting, particularly competitive pistol shooting, using a single-stage loader like this may be a little slow for you. So here's the answer when you really want to produce a lot of reloads in a very short time.
Hornady's Projector Progressive Press deprimes, resizes, primes, charges powder, and seats the bullet all at one time. It lets you perform all reloading operations we've shown you, including a roll or taper crimp for pistol cartridges, with just one stroke of the lever. But whether you're using a single stage or a progressive press, you'll find that reloading gives you a wider choice of bullets than you've ever had before. And the extra choice you get by reloading means more ability to tailor-make a cartridge so that it will cost less and perform better than any you can buy. But don't rush it. Make sure you get started right with a good reloading outfit and that you remember these basics. Consult your handbook every time you reload. Play it safe. Never exceed the maximum powder charge indicated, and never trust your memory as to what is the right powder charge. Always store powder and primers safely and check every step in your reloading process for accuracy. Remember to write it down. Always record settings and charges in your shooter's log so that you won't have to guess the next time. And make sure everything on your bench, from components to finished reloads, is clearly and accurately labeled to prevent mix-ups. And finally, don't forget that reloading is something the whole family can enjoy. When you teach someone to reload, you're teaching them a lot more than just an enjoyable hobby. You're teaching them self-reliance. You're teaching them how patience and attention to detail can pay off, both in better results and in a real feeling of self-improvement and personal worth. These are lessons that can have lifelong value.
Dead center. Dead center. So have fun reloading. And remember, if you have any questions, please feel free to write us about them in care of this address. We'll be happy to help you, just as we've been helping other shooters for nearly 40 years with the finest in reloading equipment and bullets. We're Hornady Manufacturing Company, and we're what reloading is all about.